Do you recall the peculiar trend of eerie clown sightings in 2016? People disguised as disturbing or menacing clowns loitered in public places after nightfall, causing a stir. My account takes place on a college campus during the autumn of that year. Before I left for school, I resided with my grandparents, whom I hold dear. Being notably reserved and lacking close friends or regular companions at school, I aimed to branch out and meet new people. I decided to join a salsa dancing club that convened on Friday nights. Excitedly, I informed my grandmother over the phone, and she was pleased that I was stepping out of my comfort zone. She inquired whether I was going with someone. "No," I replied. "I'm planning to go alone." "Are you certain?" she questioned. "Don't any of your roommates want to accompany you?" The thought of conversing with my roommates petrified me. I could manage structured gatherings, but informal conversations amplified my awkwardness. "No, they're not available. I don't want you wandering around the campus by yourself at night." I presumed my grandmother was merely being overly cautious. "Grandma, it's okay. The pathways are well lit, and it's only a brief walk. It's perfectly safe." "Well, if you're going alone, promise to call me and talk as you walk back," I agreed. The evening was delightful, learning the dance steps and reveling in lively Latin melodies. Around 10:30, feeling ready to return to my dorm, I departed the building and began my journey. Despite the well-lit path I traversed, everything seemed darker than usual. The campus appeared deserted, lacking the usual swarm of students. I phoned my grandmother and engaged in casual conversation as I strolled, carrying my heels in hand. While walking, I noticed a figure standing under a streetlight about 10 meters away on a perpendicular sidewalk. The figure, upon hearing me on the phone, slowly turned toward me. A tall, robust individual with disheveled red hair stood wearing light blue pajamas, their face concealed by a sinister clown mask. The mask bore a stark white visage with ominous black eye hollows and a twisted grin. Time seemed to elongate inexplicably. The clown didn't advance. Instead, he stood motionless, staring. I had to think swiftly. I considered my options. A. Scream and flee. B. Confront the figure. Or C. Act unfazed. The whole incident couldn't have lasted more than a second, yet it felt like an eternity. "Are you there?" I heard my grandmother's voice. Recalling to breathe, I chose option C. With the phone by my ear, I averted my gaze from the clown. "Anyway," I raised my voice for the clown to hear. "Yeah, I'm on my way," I continued. "What's happening? Are you okay?" My grandmother's voice now dripped with concern. As confidently and nonchalantly as I could, I strolled past the sidewalk where the clown stood, continuing the conversation. The clown's head pivoted as I passed, observing until I vanished from view. I sought refuge in the nearest building's archway, attempting the door, praying it was unlocked. It was. Once inside, I slumped against a concrete wall and dissolved into tears. I recounted the encounter to my grandmother. She instructed my grandfather to contact campus authorities using his cell phone so I could stay on the line with her. I paced the empty corridors, checking every entryway and window, unsure if the clown had followed me. Was this just a foolish prank or something more sinister? Some of the reported creepy clowns wielded weapons. I had no clue if mine was armed. When my grandfather briefed the officer about the situation and my need for assistance, he was informed, "Your granddaughter must make the call herself." Evidently, it was to ensure the call's authenticity, not a mere prank. I had to contact campus police on my own after disconnecting with my grandmother. Uncertain of my safety, I sobbed to my grandmother, "I love you. I love you too," she responded tearfully. I phoned the campus police, recounting the incident and providing a description of the clown. While conversing, I heard a door open. I froze. Was the clown present? Had they found a way inside? A wave of relief washed over me as several officers approached down the corridor. They escorted me back to my dorm. Upon securing myself inside, locking the door, shutting the blinds, I reassured my grandmother of my safety. After chatting a while longer, we bid goodnight. Since then, I forged a few friendships at school. While in a better place, I refrain from solitary night strolls. As for that eerie clown, I pray our paths never cross again. Let me give you a picture of the area where this took place. We resided in a small neighborhood with streets that led to a park in a half-circle formation. Beyond the park were woods and a railroad track. In our younger years, we'd often play in the front part of the woods, never straying too far back. This was our play area, well lit and a source of joy for us for many years. We'd never encountered any issues or fears in this pretty wooded spot. One day, my brother Jimmy, my best friend Sarah, and my brother's best friend Ian were constructing a dam in the creek that ran through the park and woods. The boys decided to head back to Ian's house for snacks, leaving Sarah and me to finish our camp area. As we shifted rocks around, a strange feeling swept over me, a sense of being watched. I presumed it was the boys trying to startle us and continued with our tasks. Sarah and I arranged some substantial rocks near the dam. The strange feeling returned, and as I stood up, I spotted something about 30 feet away behind a bush. It was a pattern of red and blue, nothing the boys wore. As I focused, I realized it was a clown. My heart raced. He had a blue and red hat and a red and blue jumpsuit in a reverse pattern. He smiled with a fully made-up face and wielded a large knife. Without a word, I grabbed Sarah's shirt and we bolted with the clown in pursuit. We ran through the woods, the side of the park, and up her dead-end street. Ian and Jimmy, 2 houses up, saw us running, mistaking our fear for a prank, and laughed. We continued running until we reached the street, where Sarah's dad, Danny, came out upon hearing our screams. We tried to explain what we saw, but he initially dismissed it. By then, Jimmy and Ian had caught up, laughing at our distress until an old yellow car emerged from the park's dead end and pulled up beside us. The clown, knife in hand, demanded us to come closer. Danny, frightened himself, ushered us toward the house as the car drove off. Once inside, he called the police. My friend and I often reminisced about this until her passing. It was terrifying, and no one would have believed us had they not seen it too. The man wasn't afraid, boldly confronting us in front of a small gathering of people. We consider ourselves fortunate to be alive. This experience was life-changing, and all of us were terrified of ever seeing another clown. Back in the late 1980s, during one summer break from college, an unusual incident occurred in a house my dad owned. This house, built in 1916, had an unconventional layout. It resembled separate apartments more than a typical residence, with individual outside entrances to 3 bedrooms, each equipped with a private bathroom. The place was entirely wooden, with brown walls, floors, and ceilings, untouched by paint or plaster. Dad, waiting for permits and funding to rebuild, allowed 3 of my friends to live in the house rent-free in exchange for keeping an eye on it. They threw parties, and as long as the neighbors weren't bothered, Dad didn't mind. I attended a few of these gatherings whenever I was back from college. As time passed, 2 friends moved out, leaving one buddy alone in the mostly empty house. Unfazed by living alone in such surroundings, he remained content with the situation. One afternoon, the phone rang, and it was my buddy, clearly distressed. He urged me to call the police and meet him outside the house's driveway without entering. He revealed that he had encountered a crazy clown woman inside the house. He had been sick for 2 days, bedridden with the flu, and when he finally ventured to the kitchen for food, he encountered this woman in a clown suit screaming at him. He fled the house and called me from a nearby gas station in a panic. I immediately contacted the police and drove to the house, finding my friend waiting outside, visibly shaken. He described the woman as a clown dressed in white with smeared red makeup. Given his sickly appearance, his description unnerved me. There was no way I was going inside the house to check. After a while, a cop arrived. My buddy relayed the same story, and the officer entered the house while we waited outside. Minutes later, the cop escorted out the woman my friend had described, resembling his detailed account. She had disheveled brown hair, wore an odd, baggy, all-white outfit, and her face had smudged red lipstick in an attempt to mimic rosy cheeks. While we were petrified, the cop found the situation amusing. The woman claimed the house was hers, accusing us of trespassing. The cop attempted to detain her, but she warned of influential friends in Tinseltown who could have him fired. Later, a background check revealed an outstanding warrant, resulting in her arrest. We never saw her again. Upon re-entering the house, we discovered disturbing inscriptions on the kitchen cabinets in the same red lipstick she wore on her face. There were remnants of 10-day-old fish she cooked and ate from the fridge. The truly chilling realization was that this woman had been in the same house as my friend, ill and somewhat delirious, for at least a day. Thankfully, she never came across him while he slept, with his door unlocked the entire time.